Hi all, this is Tammy, Moonshot Acres. I was going to do just a very brief video here. I've had people ask me how I make sauerkraut, isn't that really hard, and all that kind of stuff, and why don't you just buy it? The thing is that true homemade brine sauerkraut is so much healthier for you than anything store-bought. It's known to have curative powers for fighting cancer, for overall digestive and your gut flora health. I cannot stress enough how much probiotic foods are good at rebuilding depleted gut flora, especially after antibiotic treatments, that kind of thing. You know, your guts are really truly your center for keeping you healthy. If your guts aren't healthy, you're not going to be healthy. So this is just a brief explanation. Because I'm doing this video by myself, I don't really have anybody to hold the camera while I show you some of the things, but I'll just kind of run through it. Basic sauerkraut is literally 2 ingredients: salt and cabbage. That's it. It doesn't get any fancier than that. If you'd like to add a few more things, you can. You can put in juniper berries, celery seed, you know, some other items. You can add onions, you can add apples. There's variations, but for purposes of this, I have simply added nothing but a few juniper berries and the cabbage and the salt. So you start out with your cabbage. Even if it's an older cabbage, it doesn't matter. Sometimes people are afraid to use older vegetables that are aging. No, that's not true with anything that you're going to brine. It's totally okay to use stuff that's starting to go bad. You just cut off anything that's moldy. So you start out with your heads of cabbage. You see I've chopped them all up. I take the hearts out only because the hearts take a really long time to ferment, and they're harder to smash down. As you can see, there's a knife, and there's I've got my potato masher here. One of these days I'm going to get a wider one for this, because the wider the area, the better. In olden times, they usually used their fists, literally punch down the sauerkraut. So what we do is we take each head as you go, and you see here I have a food grade bucket. This is not your standard, you know, run to the hardware store bucket. This is a food grade bucket. You can buy them in food supply stores and beer making places and such. So for time, I just got that one chopped up. Excuse the mess on my kitchen table. I was doing pickles yesterday, and I had dill pickles all over the table until just a few minutes ago, so everything's kind of just pushed off to the side. Once you get, you have a nice clean food grade bucket, you chop up your cabbage. I use kosher salt just because it's free of anything. You don't want to use table salt. You want to use a nice kosher salt. You can use sea salt, is fine. It will cause the brine to have a discoloration, but that's because of the minerals in the salt. But that doesn't hurt it. So once you've gotten that, we go over here and we look at it, and there you have it. It's in the bucket. Then you simply take your salt, and you just sprinkle a little salt over the top of it, and then you take your handy dandy smasher or your fists. If you're really ticked off at a husband or something, fists work great. And you literally sit here and you smash and keep smashing it until you start seeing the leaves producing some liquid, which won't be much at first. To be perfectly honest, it's not going to be much at first. This is a very time-consuming portion, and your arm will probably be tired by the time you're done, but you get the picture. Then, and like I say, for time constraint purposes, then you'd add the next layer over the top of that, and then some more salt, and keep on smashing. You want to smash it pretty hard. I go for a couple of minutes on it, and then I repeat. And then you want to do a final really good smashing. You can even toss it and smash some more, just to feel better about it. Once you've done that, you want to put a plate, just a regular kitchen, your dish, just a plate, over the top of it, and push it down tightly. Then you want to weight that down with either a clean boiled rock or a jar filled, like a mason jar filled with water, to weight it down, because you're trying to push that down into its own brine that it's already making. Once you've done that, you don't ever want to cover the bucket with an actual lid. You want to place a piece of cheesecloth over it, and then one of those large rubber bands around that type of thing, or you can even lay a pillowcase over the top of it, so long as the pillowcase isn't going to get blown up or anything. You're just trying to keep dust out of it. So after you've done that, you go back after about 3 hours, and lucky you get to do the smashing again for a 24-hour period of time, which obviously you're not going to get up in the middle of the night to do this, but you're going to, about every 3-4 hours, you're going to go and you're going to pound that sauerkraut again for a while. And this is to try to get the juices to release, so that they can activate with the salt to start creating your brine. If after 24 hours you don't have enough brine to where the liquid has come up and is completely covering your cabbage with the plate and the weight on it, then you would simply add some salt water to it. It's like 3 tablespoons of water to 1 cup of water. Just add that in until it comes up over the top of it. And once it does, then you're good to go. You just check on it every day. You just take the top off. Sometimes there'll be a little bloom on the top of it. That's okay to kind of ladle that out, but it doesn't hurt anything. It's part of the brining process, so don't freak out when you see that, because that is a good thing. We want the bloom. The only thing we don't want is mold. So it usually takes 1 to 4 weeks. When you store it, you want to store it in a semi-cool place, because the warmer the area that you put it in, the faster the fermentation, and sometimes that can lead to a sauerkraut that has kind of a musty, not so pleasant taste. So what you want to do is, what I do is I put it in a corner of our kitchen, off to the side where it's not, nobody's going to trip over it. The house is air conditioned, so that the house maintains a pretty steady temperature. I keep it out of sunlight, because you kind of want it in a dark place, and you're going to be amazed by the results. It's better than anything you've ever had purchased at a store. It's not really hard, and you know what? It's going to make your guts happy. So, please give it a try. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Alrighty, have a great day.